hitting the record button. Okay, good morning. This is the morning trade recap. All communications from Viper Trading Systems are for educational purposes only. Futures and Forex trading does involve risk, and there is a risk of loss. Nothing contained in this webinar, other webinars, including the training webinars, are to be construed as investment or trading advice. And of course, everyone here does know that you do trade at your own sole discretion. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get over and look at a couple of charts real quick here. I just have two trades to show here today. Of course, there was lots of trades that set up this morning, but I think it's easy just to look at a couple quick ones here. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about each of these. I'm just going to kind of recap them. You should see an EMD chart on your screen right now. Is the EMD up?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. All right. So here we have a 4-range chart at EMD. Most of you know that the EMD is the mid-cap 400 futures. $10 a tick. We did have news today at 7 o'clock. We had Philly Fed, I believe, along with some housing numbers that were shown as high-impact numbers. So we're looking for volatility. We're looking for movement after the news. And you can see here that just before the news, by the way, the Philly Fed number was really weak. All the numbers were weak, and we got kind of an early reaction, if you will, down on EMD. You got this thrust here where it came right through support, breaking down through support. Generally speaking, we don't put positions on ahead of high impact news. We usually wait for some kind of reaction. And sure enough, it came down here, you can see, and hit this pivot, 947.40, pivot reverse right here. See it? And then we got a nice textbook yellow bar pro trade retracement. You should remember the numbers of 948.70 to 949.20. This pivot right here. Remember in the room we said if it gets anywhere up here, we're going to short it. See that? So you get short up here. Market rolls over, starts moving in our favor. Your initial stop, of course, is above the pivot at these lines up here. That's your initial stop, right? And we trail the stop, trail the stop, trail the stop, trail the stop. Now, it came all the way down here, if you remember this number, 44.30. And we were saying when it gets down to the extreme oversold, you're going to want to either tighten your stop or look to take some profits down here. So if you bank down here and did not allow the market to retrace all the way back up, you actually made about another 10 or 12 ticks on the trade. But if you trailed the stop, see down here, if you trailed the stop and got out up here, it's still a good exit when it came back through this ultimate support pivot, 945.30. So depending on your fill short, where you got filled up here, and depending on where you took your profits, I just used a round number. I said this was worth about 30, 35 ticks. So at $10 a tick, you're looking at somewhere for a one contract trade around $3.50, plus or minus, depending on your fills. All right, so that's the EMD trade after news. Most of you in the room, some of you caught that. Some of you shorted the other markets. I think the Russell and the other markets broke down as well. So you can use EMD in some of the other markets, particularly the Russell, if it's leading the equity markets around, as a proxy for other markets that follow it. If there's no questions on this EMD trade, I'm going to show a little breakout trade on NASDAQ from earlier today. Right here, NASDAQ futures are NQ. It's $5 a tick. Most of you know we're trading the September contract right now. So here's what we had earlier. If you did some pre-market analysis, you can see that there was some strong resistance up here on NASDAQ around this 40-50 area, right in here. Here, open of the equity markets was 6:30 Pacific, which would have been right about here. Now, generally speaking, right at 6:30, we don't take trades. We usually give it a couple of minutes to the market to kind of sort itself out a little bit. And sure enough, I wanted to show you can see that we are definitely in an uptrend here. So you're looking to buy breakouts or pullbacks. You got a little proby here, down to support, right? This pivot. See the probe pullback. These are also good entries. The retracements in an uptrend. You felt a little heat on this trade. Okay, if you got filled up here, depending on your buy order. Your initial stop, of course, was down by these stop dots. See the stop dots down here? This is your initial stop down by the pivot. So you felt a little heat as it pulled back. And or I want to say that if you did not buy the breakout, that this retracement was also a very, very good entry. And of course, you see here we got a pop up. NASDAQ was divergent from the other equity markets. I believe it was the only one that broke its swing high. The other ones did not, so they did not, unfortunately, set up a long breakout trade like this. And you could have done a couple of things here. You could have trailed your stop somewhere possibly between the trailing stop dots and the stealthy line. You could have also, if you remember this number, 4650. Remember we said if it gets anywhere up here, look to bank some coin. So you quite possibly could have pulled the trade off in here with a target or a market exit. And if you didn't get out there, obviously you could have trailed your stop possibly up into here somewhere. So there your trade would have been from the breakout level to possibly somewhere in here for your stop out. I just picked a round number. I'm saying depending on where you got filled and you exited up here, it was worth between about 20 and 24 ticks, or about $100 to $120 per contract. So between the NASDAQ trade, about 120 bucks or so, and the EMD trade right here after the news, the short, it could have been a two and done morning for you. You would have been done with a NASI trade here about well, when were you done with that one? Before 7 o'clock. You were actually out of this one before the news even came. And this one you were actually done, well, about 25 minutes after the news. Before 7:30, if you took these two trades, you would have been up somewhere around, well, between 4 or 450, just shy of $500, two trades. Two and done. That's what we call that. Two and done. You take two trades. And obviously, if you get good at seeing these trades on NASDAQ or YM or EMD or even the Russell TF, you can simply add contracts, right? If your risk tolerance is such that you can handle it, you can put 2 or 3 contracts, 4 contracts. But you have to realize, of course, that's additional risk. Okay? All right. Well, I think that's it. That's all I had to show. Any final questions before we wrap? I'm going to go ahead and turn the recorder off. I think Gary mentioned he's giving a pro webinar tonight. Should be a good one.